Hello, beautiful people. Welcome to Frenchie with an IE. This is a last minute miniature introductory installment of Frenchie with an IE, the podcast on which we talk about whatever the hell we feel like we need to talk about. I am your hostess, Frenchie Davis. I wasn't ready to launch this shit yet, y'all. I wasn't ready. I was still trying to get all my ducks in a row, designate a specific space in my apartment to set up my recording spot, setting up all my sound equipment, making sure that the shit was, right. But sometimes we set a goal for ourselves and then talk ourselves right out of it, trying to, make the shit perfect. And the universe didn't let me do that. The universe said, "No, bitch, do this shit now." And after an exchange I had on Instagram this morning, I felt inspired to just post something today. So here I am in my bedroom, in my boudoir, with my grits t-shirt on. Grits! Every time I read it, I have to sing it. Shout out to my boo, Nicholas Ryan Gant, for hooking me up with this shirt. I love it so much. So yeah, I had an exchange on Instagram this morning. Angelica Ross, who I love, she posted a post, basically calling out cis Black women for the ways in which many of us have failed to show up in advocacy for our trans sisters and to be loud when it comes to raising our voices about the disproportionate rate at which many of them are being killed and murdered and basically treated like absolute shit by mainstream society as a whole. And then she did some shout outs, thanking a bunch of people, including Patricia Arquette, who I love, but I don't believe in congratulating white women, but that's just me. So that was one part of the post that triggered the fuck out of me, but I digress. So I commented on the post and I was like, I'm kind of growing weary of, Black women being expected to show up and fight for everybody when so often we have to fight for ourselves by ourselves. Black women, cis or trans, don't owe nobody shit. That was what I said. And somehow that morphed into like a whole comment thread that like went left. Like I couldn't even engage because I don't do internet arguing, and I don't like, once I feel like you throwing me shade and giving me shade energy, like I'm disengaging. And what I'm not gonna do is deal with people who are younger than my stretch marks calling me sweetie. That I will shut down immediately. Like I'm not doing none of that. So I had to disengage from like the whole thing because somehow it morphed into like me needing to check my privilege, and it was just a lot of vitriol. And I couldn't even read it. I was just like, okay. And, don't get me wrong. Like, I am fully aware that, like, I don't know everything. Like, a bitch still has learning and growing to do. There is evolution needed in my perspective and perceptions on a number of things. And I can own and acknowledge that some of my perspectives are rooted in wounded places, parts of me that still need to be healed. And if you know my story, you know why. And so there's that, in addition to kind of like the shade energy that I felt in response to what I said. And, also I was kind of feeling conflicted about some of Billy Porter's comments, regarding, the African-American community and how, according to him, we are just as bad as whites and racism when it comes to, homophobia and transphobia. And here's the thing, what Billy said was 1000% correct. And what Angelica said was 1000% correct. Here is where I personally struggle at the intersection. Please, Jesus, I can't wait for the nail salons to open. Do you see this? Help God. I digress. This is where I struggle at the intersection as a fat, Black, queer, openly bisexual woman. While they are 1000% correct, I struggle with Black people in this acronym community, LGBTQIA+, who are very outspoken when it comes to calling Black people out on their homophobia and transphobia, which we absolutely the fuck should. When I don't see the same energy from these people when it comes to calling out the mainstream LGBTQIA+ community on their white supremacist fuck shit, that's when I get triggered. That's when I start to struggle at the intersection. Because there are a couple of prides who've reached out to me to perform at their virtual pride, and I was like, I can't. Like, I've been singing at prides my whole life, and like sis Angelica tried to come for me on that. You know, you get booked to sing at prides, I would expect you to know better. And like, that was hurtful, because it's like, how dare you erase my identity as a member of this community? I'm a bisexual woman. I'm not just some hetero bitch out here getting booked to sing at prides. And while we're talking about it, let's talk about how the straight bitches get paid more than the queer artists to perform at these events. But that's another fucking post. I digress. I've had to turn down singing at a couple of virtual prides because I'm like, listen, I'm struggling at the intersection right now. And I need to know that these pride organizations who want to book me to sing are not only giving the same fucking energy to calling out the white supremacy in our community, but are including Black organizers and Black people in the planning of these events outside of just paying them to get on stage and sing and dance. That's how I feel about it. And I think that's valid too. And I think that can be valid without it being an erasure of the validity of what Billy and Angelica are talking about as well. And, you know, I could feel myself getting defensive in the comments and the post. So that's why I had to just disengage, because that's not the energy I'm going to feed. And people who follow me on Facebook, you know, I done had to cuss bitches out over Angelica and several of my trans sisters several times. I actually DM'd you a screenshot of one of those posts. That's the energy I'm on. And when I ride for my sisters, I don't differentiate between trans and cis. Which brings me to breaking down what I said. And this is going to be like the last thing I say about the shit, because I've learned over the years that at some point it becomes an exercise in futility trying to convey a point to people who've already committed to misunderstanding you. So that's where I'm at with it. So like I said, I'm growing weary, meaning I am personally growing weary. And I highlighted that weariness around the word expectation. Because here's the thing. If someone isn't saying or directly naming it every time, like, why do we assume and feel we're excluded and that the person is not pro, ally, or supportive? When I say Black Lives Matter, I don't understand why it's interpreted that Black trans lives are not included. You are. In every fucking thing that I post, that I've posted for several years before there was a Pose television show. My weariness is an expectation to use divisive language that exemplifies choosing one over the other. That is where I think I will perpetually struggle at the intersection. And maybe that's where we misheard each other. Well, I shut down once you called me sweetie and assumed that I was straight. I couldn't deal. Secondly, saying Black Lives Matter includes Black, cis, trans, bi, gay, straight, flexible spectrum, male and female identified individuals, all of us. That is the only acceptable interpretation of the term from where I stand. Period. This is the conversation that we need to have. And again, I am open to seeing where my perspective can evolve for the better and where I can grow and learn. I'm down to have that conversation. But if I'm not being malicious in spirit, I'm not going to be able to do it if your energy is wrong. Because that's not where I'm at right now. I don't live there. Okay? Don't call me sweetie when I got stretch marks your age. And don't assume that I'm a straight woman. Because I've been about this life for decades. How many black women were out of the closet when I came out in this industry? And where the fuck were all of y'all when black people dragged me for it? We have a problem in our community. And I'm standing at the intersection when I say that. We have a problem, a severe problem, with homophobia and transphobia in the black community. We also have a problem in our acronym rainbow community. There are gay white men who are misogynistic as fuck. Let's just say gay men in general. Gay misogyny is a thing. And so the fuck is gay racism. Let's not act like you don't go on the gay dating sites and see no fats, no femmes, no blacks, no Asians. So I'm already triggered as fuck. Taking breaks from social media. And then I log on and I see the post. And a lot of my shit is triggered. I can totally get how my comment may have come across wrong to someone who's also very triggered right now. And also communicating their frustrations from a wounded space. I get that. But we're not going to learn from each other or correct one another in love. We're not going to inspire one another to look in the mirror and correct ourselves if we're attacking each other. There is severe healing necessary in our community of black women. There is a deep conversation that needs to be had between our trans sisters and our cisgender sisters. These are facts. So I'm not really one to retract the shit that I say, because if I didn't mean it in a mean-spirited space, hey, I can take responsibility for it inadvertently being hurtful though, because that ain't never my intent. And I'm definitely down to explore having a further conversation from a space of love and mutual respect, because I'm not dealing with fuck shit ass energy at all. Anyway, that's that on that. The next episode, I'm gonna have my shit together. This just forced me to realize that needs to happen. Thank y'all for taking the time to listen and for supporting me on this crazy ass journey of self-discovery and healing. I love y'all. We'll talk again soon.